Elise and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about what's going on with Silicon Valley Bank and some other things that are going on in the banking industry. I'd like to start off by saying that it is insane right now. Silicon Valley Bank is the second largest bank failure in the history of the whole of America. Along with that, in the last few weeks since the SVP thing happened, we've had 2 banks be bought out by other banks, and we had 1 bank get downgraded in their credit rating. So yeah, it's a lot going on, but it's not all chaos and nobody should make any drastic moves. And I personally plan on not making any drastic moves, and I'll explain why. So what happened with Silicon Valley Bank? A lot of their depositors, AKA customers, worked for Silicon Valley. Also, a lot of their depositors were tech company startups. So when you have depositors that are in one type of field, that kind of increases your risk already. But on top of that, these individual depositors had really high deposit amounts, well over the $250K that is secured by the FDIC. Probably millions, tens of millions, whatnot. And they started getting nervous. I don't know why. It could have been that there were a lot of tech layoffs. It could have been that they just wanted to move their money. Nevertheless, they started moving their money because they realized that they had a lot higher. They were not safe after $250K. So if you have $1 million in there, you want to get 750 out because the bank is not going to secure it. And word passes along fast. And I'm sure rich people have rich friends and they were talking to each other and they're like, oh, I'm not feeling as secure, I'm going to take my money out. But if everybody does that, that's what happens to have a bank be killed. And that's what happened. It killed the bank. So that leads us to what the hell was SVP doing to make its depositors nervous? And that is what got wind to the government, and the government decided to step in. They did that for several reasons, mainly to not cause a domino effect. So what I have interpreted is that depositors will be made whole, and you would think that means that the government, aka us, we're gonna take a loss and be paying for it through our taxes, but that's not necessarily true. And that's not true is because there is a fund that all banks have to pay into potentially for banking problems, and the government is going to use that fund to make them whole. They're not trying to protect the bank, so they say, which is calming to the public, to me for sure, but they are trying to make sure that the tech companies can make payroll for companies that they have so they can stay open. Because if you can't make payroll, you're going to lose jobs. And if you have thousands of people losing jobs, that's not good. Those people who now have lost their jobs are going to take monies out of their respective banks that are not SVP, that are other banks. And it's just going to cause a lot of problems because a lot of banks do not have the actual money in there that our deposits say are there. They have in turn invested it so they can make money off of it. So that's what the government did not want to do. They have promised to go after the investors at the bank who are in charge of making the investment decisions and making sure that those people don't get off scot-free. And I think that's important because I've talked about it a lot in other videos where we bailed out banks before, almost 20 years ago, and it's seeming like they are not learning from their decisions. So no domino effect. And the point was to have people to stop withdrawing money from their banks. Because me, for instance, or you, looking at the news like, well, is my money safe? Maybe I should take it out. And I really didn't think about it like that because I try not to make hasty decisions. But a lot of people can get nervous. There are some people that don't trust the banking system, especially people who are in a lower socioeconomic status. They are overbanked in some ways and underbanked in others. So I'm sure they probably would feel better taking their money out, maybe putting it on the mattress, but that's not a good idea, at least not for now. So the other thing that's going on, that's SVP. The other things that are happening is that we have had 2 banks become acquisitioned by bigger banks. And what that means is that one bank has decided to buy most, if not all, assets of the other bank in an effort to save the banking system. So the first one is New York Community Bank bought Signature Bank, and then UBS bought Credit Suisse. So if that is you, you don't have anything to worry about for the most part. All it means is that now instead of your bank being Signature, it is New York Community. Instead of your bank being Credit Suisse, it is UBS. So let's say, for instance, you had a mortgage by the original bank. You have the same mortgage, the same terms, the same amount that you still owe. You just pay it to New York Community Bank and you are now their customer. Your money is safe. Your deposits are safe. And that's the good news. So for the most of us, it is so far okay. We just have to watch for updates. But as of right now, worst case scenario, if our banks blow up, like Bank of America, One United Bank, Chase, JP Morgan, everybody is secure up into $250,000. Even if the worst case scenario, if the banks blow up, you are safe, you will get your money back. Somehow in banking, they've made sure that they have at least that amount covered for you. Anything above that, which I don't know many people, I need to get some friends who are in higher economic statuses, but we're fine. So the whole point of that is that that the government wants us to be comfortable with that, is that we don't take our money and put it into what we can consider like the secure banks, which is Bank of America, SunTrust, what's that other bank? Wells Fargo, the big 4 or 5. Because when you do the big 4 or 5, we get the opposite of what we want, which is that they have control. And they've had control before, and bad things happen when you only have 4, 5, maybe even 10 big banks. We have probably several hundred smaller banks and like 10 big banks. All banks are important, because if one sector has everything, they have more power, and usually power corrupts. So you want to make sure, or I'm going to make sure, that I'm just going to keep my money in the bank right now, because that's where the safest place. If you take it out and put it into your mattress, it's not safe, because money is not based on the gold standard anymore. That was done away with a few decades ago, and it's best if you keep it in an actual bank. That's where it's most secure. And then also, it's really important to diversify and invest in the investing journey that anybody partakes upon. Diversification is key. You keep some money in one bank, maybe 2 banks. Like if I do not, but if I did have $300,000 saved, I would keep $100,000 in 3 separate banks. I'm not putting one egg in one basket, and I would just hope that those 3 different locations save me from a catastrophe. Because if a catastrophe happens, maybe 2 will go out, but I'll still have 1. Maybe 1 will go out, but I'll still have 2. But diversification is key when you are trying to invest your money. So that is, I'm well under $250,000 at the moment. I'm working on it, but until then, that's all the information in a nutshell as far as what is happening with SVP Bank and some of the other bank acquisitions that are happening. It does not mean that we need to panic. It does not mean that we need to take our money out. Probably the best thing that I could do is keep my money in the bank that it's in and keep myself updated. And anything else that does come up, hopefully not. I hope I have like other things to update you on versus like almost catastrophic things. But if there is something that does come up, I will keep you posted. But as of right now, I'm going to keep my money in the bank, and I hope you just stay invested in your money. All right, take care. Oh, and if you have any comments, let me know down below. If you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, if you feel like your money's safe, what money moves are you trying to make? Until then, I'll see y'all later. Bye.